Everybody's so close. Okay, hello, hello, hello. Look at my t-shirt, people. Is that funny or what? Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks. I'm sorry I was a little late. I couldn't find my notebook, so I'm trying to get it all set up right now. So we're on Instagram Live and Facebook Live, so I try not to look back and forth, but I will get this going. Anyhow, so this is basically, you guys know that I've been married for 11 years now, 13 years total. There's lots of ebbs and flows. There was one point in our relationship, I'd say after the kids were born, where I felt like the conversation was getting a little bit boring, and we'd go to dinner and it would just be like the same old stuff. Kids, work, and what's going on, current events. So we started having these little rules that we don't bring to like our dates, like our date night stuff, either an anniversary date or a Valentine's Day date, or something. We just don't. We have these rules, and so I wanted to share with you these rules, and hopefully you'll have a deeper connection, because that's what for me to have a deep connection, I have to feel engaged in the conversation. I have to feel like he's really present and he's really listening to me and understanding my needs and just really engaged. And so let's start it off. It all kind of starts back to, you have to do a lot of work if you want a really good marriage, right? You have to be the one, the female has to be the one, or the feminine energy has to bring stuff to the table, to try things out, to be playful, to be open. And so I'm going to share 3 tips with you that will make sure you keep the spark alive and you feel that deep connection with him, because it can be, it can get dull, but it doesn't have to be. But you have to be doing the work, right? And open to this information and trying it out. So, and then I'll tell you why I'm wearing this shirt, so it's kind of funny. Anyhow, the first thing is set him up for success, and so that you feel loved. So most of the time, I used to tell Shane, hey, he'd ask me, hey, what do you want to do for Valentine's Day next week? And I'm like, whatever, just surprise me. Well, I could feel that it would cause anxiety in him. Like, he would be going, surprise you? Like, I need some parameters. I need some things. I'm like, no, just surprise me. Well, I realize now with all the seminars and talking to people and reading books that guys need a little direction. And at the end of the day, he really wants to make me happy. And he really wants to make sure I smile. And so if I say something different, like set him up for success, for instance, hey, honey, what do you want to do? And I'll say, well, let's go to dinner, but let's go somewhere that we've never been before and that I can dress up. And so he says in his mind, he's like, okay, I can do this, right? So how I feel love in that instance is when he comes back with me with like the 2 restaurants or the 1 restaurant and says, okay, I looked at this Yelp review and this restaurant was really good. It got really good reviews. That was like so awesome for me. Like, I'm totally like really loving him right now because he looked up a restaurant and it met that criteria. So he knew that he was going to be successful and he knew that he was going to win and making me happy. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's how I feel love, but he feels confident because men honestly want to do things they're going to win at, right? They want to, essentially they married you because they felt like they can make you happy. And so we need to give them a little bit more guidance instead of, hey, I want an adventure, or like, hey, I want you to surprise me. Well, in the beginning, in the first couple years, like, they'll do it. But after you've been married for a while and you know each other, you become more of a team and you become more cohesive. There's no other decision in marriage that actually you have to, every other decision in a marriage lasting more than 4 years is we talk about everything. We talk about, we talk about everything and we discuss everything together. So why wouldn't we have some sort of interplay when it comes with figuring out what we're going to do on our dates, right? And you know how moody women get? Like, some days I just kind of want to lounge and, get something that I want to go to the same restaurant I've always gone to. And then he might have that date night plan, like, oh, I want you to, I want to go to something different. And I'm like, no, I don't really feel like it. I feel kind of like tired from the week. So if he asks me, then I'll say, hey, you know, let's go somewhere I've never been, and you know, I've never been, and I want to dress up, and then I'll pick the activity, right? I like to be the one picking activity, just because I feel like women, or the feminine energy, is more of the light in the relationship. So he's like my rock, and I feel like I'm in the relationship, I'm shining, you know, I'm the light that radiates out for him and makes him feel fun and light and not so stressed. Because in the real world, for him as a man, is like they want to go, they're, you know, they might have a really stressful jobs, everybody's demanding something from them, they feel like maybe they're not doing it right at work, or they're maybe not doing it right in, like, you know, every other area of life, but they want to come home to their wife and feel like, hey, at least I know I can make her happy, I can make her feel loved, you know. So I set him up for success, and in return I feel fulfilled because he works within those boundaries, and I already know kind of that's what I want. I wanted to dress up this weekend. I wanted to try something totally different, because I think that brings excitement to it, and it kind of feels like a first date, but you know each other, so there's obviously a dynamic to it. Like, it's not going to be like when you first dated. So just kind of get that out of your head. It's going to be an evolution of a couple being together. So as you are together year after year, you will have to be in a partnership of agreeing, you know, how you do things, right? So that my second deal for the ladies and the guys is the second tip is how you show up. So meaning what's your state? When I talked about the last video, when I was talking about like getting your state ready and getting and checking how your energy is, showing up means before I go into the date, like let's say I'm meeting him somewhere, before I walk in, I'm like, okay, like I don't want to go in and go, oh, I had a most terrible day, or oh, I had, you know, I'm complaining about something. All I want when I'm going to the date, I literally, you know, feel like just a reset, and I'm like, hey, what's up? You know, and he asked me about how your day, I'm gonna say great, even if it wasn't great, because this is our time to connect. And I want to leave all the stresses behind. He's the only person I can go to with everything, kind of like my stress and my and all the good things. Like your husband or your spouse is your everything, but there's a time and a place for, you know, different things, right? So if you're wanting to stay connected and you're wanting to stay like have passion, then you need to understand that you have to kind of switch gears here and there, just like you do when you're with your kids. You switch gears. When you're with, you know, your clients, you switch gears. When you're at your job, you switch gears. When you're with your friends, you switch gears. So switching gears to the wife, you know, a wife, and then you also switching gears to like a passionate, loving type of relationship too. So the second is how you show up, and it kind of encompasses a lot of things. Like if I'm getting ready, if I'm getting ready, I am not going to ask him, hey, does this look good? I feel like it's kind of like a first date. Like I'm not going to ask him if whatever I'm wearing looks good or whatever. And I'm going to usually do something that I would do out of the ordinary. Like if I'm in a ponytail and workout clothes every day, then I'm going to do something like kind of opposite of that. So either I'm going to do my makeup really well, or I'm going to do my hair really well, or different, or I'm going to wear something different. And the other thing is, guys are visual, so a little bit of, you know, either forming clothes or a little bit of skin, so that you are like on a first date. Like I want him to look at me like, hey, you know, I don't want him to look at me like, okay, you're wearing the same thing you wore from the office, or what you see every day. He wants to feel like I've tried, you know, and I want to feel like he's tried when he's picked out that date. So the smallest thing is looking up a Yelp review, and that to me is like, oh my God, he looked up a Yelp review and he thought I might like it. Like, I love that. So that's my second thing. So my third thing would be about conversations. Okay, my third thing would be like, hold on. Sorry, I was like totally rushing, and I'm like, I'll get into it. But my third thing would be how we deal with conversations. And after 13 years of being together and being with the same person for 13 years, that can sound like what's that word? Monotonous. And what we do is we really have really great conversations. But I'm kind of, in the beginning, I would lead that, because there was a point in the relationship where I felt like we're going to the same restaurant, we knew we liked the food, and we would ask like, hey, what are the kids, you know, this is what the kids did, cool, you know, this is what's going on at work, this is current events, you know, this is blah, blah, blah. And so I made it a rule, I didn't tell him it was a rule, but I just started saying, okay, I don't want to really talk about kids, current events. I just want to really get connected, and I want to really learn more about who he is. And so I thought what Tony Robbins says, you guys know I like Tony Robbins, is that the quality of your life is the quality of the questions you ask. And so I started asking better questions. And sometimes it's really hard to ask somebody that you've known for 13 years better questions, right? So I thought of, that table topics game. And it has all these questions in it. And so they have like a 10-year anniversary question, and they have like a couples question, and they have like just regular other questions. So we would go to the same sushi place that we always go to, which I was craving. So I really wanted to go there and wanted it. So I would go, hey, we're going to do something fun and different, and he's like, okay, whatever. And I put it on the table, and I'll pick a card out, and I ask him the question, and I just want him to I try to get him to myself in a playful, happy state, so that he's totally in, because I'm smiling and I'm happy, and so he's all in. Like, whatever is going to keep her happy like this, I'm down, So one of the questions that's great, and this is just an example, but it can start the ball rolling in your brain. Like, hey, what questions can I ask? If I have to do a little research to figure out great questions, and do it. If I have to buy a game and do it, because this is your husband, you're going to be together forever, you might as well have a good time and learn more about each other. So after this was like the 9th or 10th year, I brought this table topics game, because I just didn't have it. I guess I didn't know what to do, and I thought it'd be fun. So one of the first questions that came out was, I picked, and I knew that would be a really good, positive, emotionally evoking question. Like, I want to talk about things that are positive, like makes me smile and makes him smile, that's nostalgic, that's fun, that makes him laugh, because again, I feel like we're dating, like I know that if I give to him and make him feel great inside, then he'll always want to be around me, and then he'll always want to take care of me, and he'll always want to make sure I'm happy. But it takes two people to keep giving, right? And take your ego out of it, and just step it up. And if you feel like you're getting bored, then you do something about it. And the same goes for the other person. But women are usually the light in the relationship, and kind of the matriarch, kind of the person that has the ideas, or like, hey, let's go on this vacation. So, you dictate so many other things in life, so why couldn't you dictate this type of activity, right? Why can't you step it up in this area? So I took this card out, and it kind of it was like an epiphany for me. It's like, oh my gosh, like, I've learned something new about him. So the card said it was on one of the table topics. The card said, what coach growing up influenced you the most? And so I was like, I asked him that question, and you could tell, it's like, oh, that's a good question, because I hadn't thought about it, because I hadn't thought about it in years, right? So he's like, you know what, I really love Coach Brown, because in middle school he did this and he really made me feel this way and that way. And so I answered the question as well, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love Coach Ryder. Was in 6th grade, he was like the first person that believed in me, and that I could actually he told me if I worked really hard, and I could get a scholarship. And so all those feelings of positivity, and together it feels connected, and you're having deep conversation. At that point, you're really engaged, and you don't even know what's going on around you, only because it's the quality of the question. And a lot of times it's not serious, and I've learned something about him in that moment after 10 years. So another question that I would say is, and it's funny, and it's playful, and it's sexy, and so I'll go, hey, what kind of what color lingerie do you want to wear? Should I wear tonight for you? And if you know me, I'm not like that type of person, all sexual or whatever, but I think that it's playful, and I think it's funny, and I think that it keeps the spark alive, and I think that he looks at me in that way, like, oh, hey, okay, and I'm kind of always like a jokester in the relationship, and then if I start it, he'll kind of start it. So I wore this shirt because it's something that I would do, like a random something. Like, I found this online. I thought it was so hilarious, and I was gonna play a trick on him. He actually hasn't even seen this yet. It was been in my closet, because I was gonna just play a trick on him. So I'd have maybe lingerie but under it, and I'd come and go, hey honey, and he'd see me and he'd laugh, and then there would be lingerie under it. So does that kind of hopefully that makes sense. So let's go over my 3 tips that will have that if you do, and it's just a shift in your mindset, or just it takes a little bit of effort, but it can really change the course of how you connect, and it really gets it makes you feel more alive, So first, set them up for success. Give them a little guidance. Hey, I want to go this place that has, I want to dress up at, or that we've never been to before, like in an activity. I don't want to go to eat this time. I want to try this instead. Then he's like, okay, I can win at this. And he feels motivated to want to do it. Because imagine, like, every time you tell your husband, like, surprise me or take me on an adventure, and there's no, like, guidance, they get really nervous and they have some anxiety, because it's like they're going to fail and you're going to not be happy either way, because they know you. They know you're going to complain either way. So you got to give them some guidance, because if you do, then you come to the relationship that, like, I can't say anything to him because I've already told him, like, I kind of want this type of activity. And when you go on dates, and when you're in the presence of him in that way of connecting or needing to feel special or needing to feel connected, I'm just like, don't complain, be playful, be open, be radiant, be like, there's no stress in the world. Be that 20-something-year-old self that saw a great life ahead of you and was so interested in what he's saying, and let the stress of what you aren't getting done, leave it at the door. I know it's possible because I do it all the time. So is this not coming from somebody that doesn't, hasn't done it? I'm 36 years old. I've been married for, 11 years. I've been with him for 13 years. And marriage is definitely not easy, but I hopefully can give you some tips on just tweaking it up and changing direction, maybe getting a little bit of spark going, and getting to know your partner better, and telling you that you can step it up as the woman, and that you might need to take initiative, and if you don't want to take initiative and you feel like you're always taking initiative, that's one thing. You can definitely bring that up in the conversation, but you need to step it up and take initiative, because if you want things to change, then you need to take responsibility for that. And you got to try. And when he sees that happening, and he sees you stepping out of your box, and he sees you, being vulnerable and trying something different, then he's going to he can't help but follow, just because it's called the law of reciprocation, like he won't be able not to play in, because he sees how happy you are. So first, set him up for success. Second, remember how you show up. Goes back to that last video, all about energy, okay, people? So just bring that energy and be playful and be fun. And, we're not talking about kids. We're not talking about current events. We're not talking about politics. We are talking about, anything but that. And it's going to challenge you, and it's going to be a little uncomfortable. Maybe you have to Google great questions. Or maybe you have to bring a game to the table. Whatever. Like, challenge yourself to be better, because you guys, if you are married and you took that, commitment, then you got to be committed to doing the work. You would do it in any other situation. You would do it at work if your boss had asked you to do something, or if you felt stagnant at work, you would change something. If you felt, with your body, if you weren't happy with your body, you would start to do something. You would start to look into doing something. You would start to figure out who could help you. If you're not motivated, you would maybe go talk to your friend, and then so you're always initiating things to change your state. I would encourage you to look at that same thing as in changing your relationship, So how you show up, you will dictate his energy as well. You come happy and free, he feels like all the stresses are gone, because he sees you like, coming happy and free. So ask questions that evoke positive emotions, playful, nostalgia, sexy, funny, and have questions ready. Sometimes if I'm feeling like super, super tired, I might do a really quick Google search on like top questions or great conversation starters. And I'll just pick 3, and then I'll screenshot it, and then I will go and we'll sit down and we'll order. If we go to the same restaurant or something, we'll order it, and then I'm like, okay, I got 3 really good questions for you. Or I'll ask him to ask me a great question, and I'll even be okay if he wants to look it up, or he has to take a second to think, or I'll be fine with it. I won't get all that pressure on him. So anyways, I hope that you enjoyed it. These tips. I hope that you'll give me a lot of feedback on how it helped you, and if it even shifts your mind just a little bit, and it spices up your relationship just a little bit, that you will let me know, and I will keep thinking of things that we do in our relationship that keeps the spark alive and keeps the passion alive. because I feel like there's no, you know, like I would want this type of resource. I just feel like nobody really talks about, you know, what do you do in a marriage that's you've been together for 7 years or 8 years or 10 years or, you know, we just hear about like, how do you get a guy, you know, what do you do on first dates? And the whole first year, 1 to 2 years is really easy because it just flows and you don't have like life, you know? So I just hoped that this was helpful for you in your journey of being with somebody for a longer period of time, or you're past that puppy stage love and you're past that, you know, other dimension of love where it's selfishness. It's in this commitment of making sure the other person's happy and vice versa. So I just hope that this helps you in your long-term marriage or your long-term relationship. And as you get through having kids and as you get through having another kid and as your body's changing and you're not really sure and as you age, I hope that this helps you in that way. So yeah, like my friend says, brown chicken, brown cow. So make sure you do what you need to do each week and make sure you check yourself before you wreck yourself. Bye guys, thank you. I don't know, I still don't even, finish.